Hey, what's up guys, Barry B. Benson 2 here, back again with another video. Now I know it's like April Fool's Day, happy April Fools, that kind of thing, but today's video isn't like a joke. I know the last 2 years, Brenner Games Iceberg, Barry B. Benson 2 Iceberg, they were joke videos. Barry B. Benson 2 Iceberg was more serious, but at heart, both those videos were jokes, you know. But I couldn't really think of a topic for a joke iceberg this year, but I still wanted to keep the tradition of having an iceberg video on April Fool's Day every year going. So yeah, I decided we're going to start doing serious ones on April Fool's Day. Who knows? Maybe this can get me back into icebergs if I still like making them. Who knows, we could go back to the good old days when I would upload 3 iceberg videos back to back. But we'll see. That being said, today we're doing the Breaking Bad iceberg. Spoilers for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And with that being said, let's get into layer 1. Meth is rock candy. Shocker of the century, but for the show, they weren't allowed to use real meth, so instead, to make prop meth, they made blue rock candy, or like a candy similar to that. It was apparently cotton candy flavored, and some of the staff would even eat it. Walter didn't die. Well, we're already in spoiler territory, whatever. Anyways, this is, or at least was, one of the most popular fan theories to come out after the show ended. Pretty much, a lot of people believe that Walter didn't end up dying. The main reasons were that, 1, he most likely wasn't shot, but instead hit by a piece of shrapnel. 2, it probably didn't hit anything vital, because if it did, Walter wouldn't have been able to walk around for so long. And 3, the cops found him pretty much immediately, and they kind of have to try and save his life. Now, although this theory does have a lot of grounds, a ton of people working on the show, including Vince Gilligan and Bryan Cranston, have deconfirmed it, and it was later further deconfirmed when Jesse listens to the radio in El Camino, and they talk about how Walter died. Werner Heisenberg. Werner Heisenberg is a very well-known physicist who came up with the uncertainty principle, which states that a particle's position and momentum cannot be measured simultaneously. He was also kind of a Nazi. Anyways, obviously, Walter's alias, Heisenberg, is derived from his last name. Better Call Saul. I probably should have talked about this one first, but whatever. Anyways, Better Call Saul is a Breaking Bad spin-off series, which is both a prequel and sort of a sequel to Breaking Bad. Anyways, this show shows how Jimmy McGill went from Slippin' Jimmy to Saul Goodman. If you ask me, it's pretty good, almost just as good as Breaking Bad. However, it's much slower paced, and if you're not really into that kind of thing, you won't like it. But yeah. Real life locations and phone numbers. I decided to group both of these into one because they're very similar. I'll start off with the phone numbers. There's a few phone numbers from the show that you can call. Most well-known being you can call Saul's phone number, at which you'll be sent to a voicemail from him that goes on for pretty long. And you can also call the vacuum disappearer guy's phone number, at which if you say the code word, you'll later get a voicemail from the vacuum disappearer. I actually tried both of these, and for some reason the vacuum disappearer number didn't work. I don't know if it's like doesn't work anymore or if I just did it wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys try it. As for the real life locations, there's a bunch of locations from Breaking Bad that you can visit in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Some important ones include Saul's office, Jesse's house. You can visit Chuck's house from Better Call Saul. You can visit the car wash and the twisters that they use to make Los Pollos Hermanos, at which both of those have Breaking Bad memorabilia inside the stores, but probably most infamously is Walter White's house, as the homeowners aren't very happy for the show's fame. Yeah, apparently people were being very disruptive. They don't like people taking pictures of their house. People would come up and try and throw pizzas on their roof. And it got to the point where they put up a big-ass fence and started yelling at people coming to their house. And I heard that recently they sold the house for over $1 million. Probably because they didn't want to deal with that anymore. Well, that's it for Layer 1. Let's just hop right into Layer 2. Gus is gay. This is a fairly popular theory that started gaining traction around midway through Better Call Saul. Pretty much a lot of people believe that Gus might have actually been gay. There's a lot of evidence to support this. For example, unlike most characters, Gus never shows interest in women, or really anyone. He never dates anyone, he never asks anyone out, nothing like that. Not only this, but Gus got absurdly upset whenever they killed Max, to the point where he not only built him a memorial, but dedicated the rest of his life to killing the entire cartel over this. This leads to most people believing that Gus did this because him and Max were dating. Probably the biggest piece of evidence to back this up is that even the actor for Gus stated that he liked the theory and thought that it was probably true. El Camino. El Camino was a Breaking Bad movie that was released towards the end of Better Call Saul in 2019, made to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of Breaking Bad. The movie is about Jesse, and it shows what he did after the end of Breaking Bad. It was alright, but nothing crazy good to write home about, in my opinion. Slipping Jimmy. No, sadly, we are not talking about this one. We're talking about this one. Anyways, Slipping Jimmy was an animated show released on, I think, the same day the last episode of Better Call Saul released. The show is a prequel to Better Call Saul, and it shows Jimmy's childhood and how he learned how to start slipping. The Fly was made to save money. Pretty simple. The episode The Fly was made in the cheapest way possible in order to save money for other episodes. This explains why pretty much the entire episode only takes place at the laundromat, and the only two characters really in the episode are Walt and Jesse. Walking Dead theories. There are a lot of theories that The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad take place in the same universe, with some of these theories even stating that Walt's meth is what causes the zombie outbreak in The Walking Dead. Some examples of evidence people use is that in The Walking Dead, you can see a bag of Blue Sky meth in a medicine bag. In one episode, you can see a guy drive the same car as Walt Jr. And in a Walking Dead movie, you can hear the Ballad of Heisenberg in the background of one scene. There were even theories that El Camino was gonna be a zombie movie. I seriously doubt this is true, and I think Aaron Paul put it best in an interview whenever he was asked about theories like this, where he pretty much just said, Breaking Bad is set in reality. Wow, we didn't have to loop the music one time. Anyways, that's it for Layer 2. Let's go to Layer 3. Better Call Saul was originally an inside joke. According to Vince Gilligan, the idea of giving Saul a spin-off series was an inside joke made up by the staff who worked on Breaking Bad. However, towards the end of Season 4, he seriously considered making it, which then led to us getting Better Call Saul. Writer's strike. From 2007 to 2008, the Writers Guild of America went on strike. This just so happened to be during the production of season 1 of Breaking Bad. Because of this, there would be major story changes that we'll get into later. This is also why season 1 has way less episodes than all the other seasons. SaveWalterWhite.com. SaveWalterWhite.com is the website Walt Jr. makes in order to get donations for Walter's lung cancer in the show. The reason why it's on the Iceberg is because it's actually a real website that you can visit right now. While we're on the topic, there are some other websites from the shows that you can visit, mainly BetterCallSaul.com, which is Saul's website, and the fake website Saul makes in Better Call Saul to get Huel off the hook. Howard was the villain. Originally, Howard was going to be the main antagonist of Better Call Saul, and Chuck just wasn't going to be one in general. Because of this, Chuck probably wouldn't have really had that much of an impact on the show at all. I'm really glad they didn't go with this plan because it sounds like it would have sucked. Walter mimics who he kills. This is a theory that Walter mimics traits of people that he kills. For example, after he kills Crazy 8, he starts cutting the crusts off of his sandwiches. After he kills Gus, he starts hiding in plain sight, similarly to Gus. And after he kills Mike, he starts drinking alcohol on the rocks. 3 episodes of Saul. Originally, Saul was only going to appear for 3 episodes where he would get Badger off the hook and then one of his clients would end up killing him. It was most likely scrapped because giving Walt and Jesse a lawyer had too much story potential, so they didn't want to waste it. Minisodes. These are pretty much just shorts that were posted online to promote the show. Although most of them are just Saul Goodman commercials, there are a few different ones like Hank and Marie's wedding and Walt and Badger breaking into someone's house to steal a vacuum. Once again, didn't have to loop the music. Anyways, that's it for layer 3. Let's go to layer 4. Mike is Jesse from the future. Now, I know this theory might be like a meme or like rage bait, but I see it so often that I genuinely think there were some people who thought this or still think this. Anyways, this is a theory that Mike is actually Jesse from the future, and he came back in time to save Jesse from all the crazy shit that Walt would do throughout season 4 and 5. He clearly did not succeed, if that was the case. Anyways, the fact that Better Call Saul exists pretty much deconfirms this theory. Better Call Saul was originally a comedy. Originally, Better Call Saul was going to be a 30-minute episodic comedy series where Saul would just be defending a new client of the week or something like that. This idea ended up being scrapped because both Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould had never written a comedy before, so they thought it would be best to stick to their roots, which was drama. The pizza roof scene was done in one take. According to Bryan Cranston in an interview, he claims that the scene where Walt throws the pizza on the roof, he did in one take, which is pretty impressive. Gus bugged Walter's glasses. This is a theory that I actually really like, which is that Gus bugged Walt's glasses so that he could listen in on what Walt's up to, which is how he was able to stay one step ahead of him, most notably knowing about the car bomb. I really like this theory, but it kind of falls apart whenever you realize that Gus probably would have known about Hector and Walt's plan during Face Off if this were true. Mike was originally a one-off. Alright, before we get into this one, you need a little bit of background. So for the episode ABQ, where Mike makes his first appearance, originally it was actually going to be Saul who shows up to Jesse's house to help him clean up. However, Bob Odenkirk wasn't available at the time of filming this episode. So the writers decided to make up a new character, which would end up being Mike. Even then, Mike was only supposed to appear in this one episode and then never return. However, they ended up keeping him as they thought of a bunch of other plot ideas for a character like him to be useful during, and then he just kind of ended up becoming one of the main characters because of that. Malcolm in the Middle is a Breaking Bad sequel. This for a while was one of the most popular Breaking Bad theories pretty much ever since the show started, with a lot of people believing that the show would end with Walt going to witness protection or getting vacuum disappeared and ended up becoming Hal from Malcolm in the Middle. This theory kind of fell apart when Walter died at the end, but I guess you could throw in some Walter faked his death or something theory with this one to make it work. Tuco died early. Originally, Tuco was planned to be the main villain all throughout Season 2. However, he ended up being killed off early because his actor actually requested it, as Raymond Cruz claimed that he really didn't like playing Tuco because of his personality. This is most likely why Season 2 feels like a lot of filler, and it's surprising that considering this, he would later come back to play Tuco in Better Call Saul. We're on a roll without having to loop the music. Anyways, that's it for Layer 4. Let's just go to Layer 5. Gale is a pedophile. This is a theory that Gale is some type of pedophile or sex offender. The main reason why people think this is because pretty much everyone throughout the show has a reasoning behind they commit all the crimes they do, except for Gale. The closest thing we get is his talk about his libertarian point of view, but I doubt someone would cook meth because of that. Anyways, a lot of people believe the reason why Gale didn't just get a real job with his great chemistry abilities is because no one would hire him because he was a sex offender. As for why people think this, he was already arrested before, as shown in the episode Blood Money, and he just kind of seems like a creep. As for why people think it's specifically a pedophile thing, it's because apparently his music video has some pedophile references or something. I didn't really get it, but whatever. As for my thoughts, I really like this theory because I hate Gale. The pool theory. This is a theory that states that the pool is the reason why all the terrible things happen in the show. For some examples, Walt throws his burning money into the pool. He decides to poison Brock while sitting at the pool. Skylar tries to kill herself at the pool. Walt looks into the sky and sees the plane crash at the pool. And the bear falls into the pool. Along with some other connections, like how Walt Jr. throws up in the pool and we never actually see anyone swim in it. I think this theory is a bit of a stretch. However, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some reason behind why so many events happen at or in the pool. Riverside, California. Riverside, California was the original place that Breaking Bad was going to take place, which actually makes a lot of sense, as not only is there a lot of desert in the area, but this is actually the real-life meth capital of the United States, with the biggest meth bust in U.S. history happening here. Anyways, they ended up going to Albuquerque, New Mexico instead, because New Mexico had them pay a lesser tax than California. Torture plot line. Pretty much at the end of Season 1, originally, Tuco would have killed Jesse, which then would have led Walter to kidnapping Tuco at the beginning of Season 2. And all throughout it, Walter would keep Tuco in his crawl space, and he would torture him via doing things like cutting off his toes and then like scalding them so that he wouldn't bleed out and things like that. And he would offer Tuco an out by making like a contraption where Tuco could hit a string with his feet to put a shotgun off to kill himself. However, he wouldn't do it until eventually in the show, Walt Jr. would find him, at which he would try to rescue him, at which Tuco, realizing that Walt Jr. is Walter's son, would set it off, killing both of them. This plotline ended up being scrapped because of the writer's strike, which made it so that they didn't have enough episodes to really put this into action in season 1. And also Vince Gilligan thought that killing off Jesse early would be a bad idea because Aaron Paul was a really good actor. Walter's funeral. Walter's funeral was an event that was held in Albuquerque after the show had ended. In order to commemorate the ending of the show, they held a fake funeral for Walter. The funeral included them burying fake ashes. They gave Walter a headstone. They had food. They had Breaking Bad memorabilia there. They had some of the actors read out a obituary for Walter. And they also did this as a fundraiser for a charity for homeless people in Albuquerque. The funeral was actually very poorly received to the point where they ended up taking out Walter's headstone. Lost Flash Games. When Breaking Bad Season 1 and 2 were both first airing, 2 Breaking Bad Flash games were actually released online. Those games being Walt's Wisdom and Walt's Warning. Both games were very similar, where before you start the game, you would put in some personal information. That's not a joke. And then afterwards, you would pretty much just watch a video that the outcome and stuff stated in the video would change depending on the information you gave the game. Walt's Wisdom took place during the first episode, where Walt would talk to you on the phone, and depending on what you put in as personal information, would change what he said. And Walt's Warning was about where you would play as a person who would find the RV just in the middle of nowhere, at which Walter would kidnap you, talk to you for a bit, and it would change depending on what personal information you gave. And then after which, either he would knock you unconscious using some chemical thing, or he would just knock you out by hitting you in the face with his gun. Both games were lost in 2020 whenever Flash went down, and as far as I know, no one has found any ways to play these games, still to this day. Slipping Jimmy is non-canon. Pretty simple. Although a lot of people assume it isn't canon, it's never actually been officially stated whether or not Slipping Jimmy is non-canon. So there's a chance that all of this stuff actually happens, but I seriously doubt it. This is not meth is personalized. Pretty simple. This is just the joke entry for the Iceberg, you know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the Breaking Bad Iceberg. I had a lot of fun making this. So, you know, like I said earlier in the video, icebergs might come back. And with that being said, happy April Fool's Day. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.